and welcome to Catacris TV. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and today with us we have Harold Big H from the band Diggeth. That's a great place to start, Harold. I'm not sure what the band's name means. How did you guys come up with that?
Yeah, that's always interesting when I speak to native English-speaking persons. That the whole digger thing, it comes from the King James Bible actually.
Okay, wow,
It's,
wow.
it's the old English spelling, the old way of the verbs, to like to dig. When
To
you
dig
read the
something,
King James
yeah.
Bible, they say like to diggeth a pit,
I
and
love that because you're educating people, and it gives people something to talk about. I mean, this may sound very silly, but there's this great hard rock band from Sacramento, California, named Tesla, and
right.
as silly as it is, a lot of kids would not know who Nikola Tesla was if there wasn't a hard rock band named Tesla, right?
Yeah, there you have it. Yeah. That's the funny part because we have to explain that a lot. And our music is pretty heavy. It's just it's a lot of digging on the guitar.
In
And
prepping for the
we
interview, I got to tell you, I was listening to some of the music off the new album, and it's definitely metal. And the best compliment I think I can give you is saying you don't sound like every metal band out there. You definitely got your own sound. I mean, your vocals in particular got kind of like a growly. I don't want to say Cookie Monster, but a very different sound and quite
right,
original.
right. Thank you very much. That's a huge compliment. Especially in these days and age. Like this music, this kind of music. Is like, what is it, 50, 55 years old? We have heard and we have seen so much. And if somebody tells me that we're doing something, interesting, that's a huge compliment. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's interesting because as a three-piece band, I will say everybody kind of stands out. I mean, the drums, you got powerhouse drumming, the riffing is just amazing, but the vocals in particular, I mean, they really are front and center.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. Well, I grew up with my older brother, and he educated me well when it came to music. He played all kinds of stuff, from Electric Light Orchestra to
Oh, wow.
Deep Purple and Iron Maiden and all that stuff, and especially within hard rock and heavy metal, there were great singers, like if you listen to stuff like Rainbow, or Dio, or Iron Maiden, you hear great vocals. And over the last, let's say, 30 years, we saw a real broad range on different kind of vocals, like going from the death metal thing to the more traditional heavy metal thing. And I, try to kind of make my own all kind of all style of it, where I feel happy with. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it leans to maybe the older Metallica kind of style,
Yeah,
but sometimes it's a little bit maybe Lynyrd Skynyrd, maybe
yeah.
it's a little bit Thin
Yeah,
Lizzy. I like to.
it's interesting listening to some of the music, and I don't remember the exact song, but that's the funny thing. Almost some of it had like almost a kind of Skinnerdy rockabilly kind of sound to it.
Sure.
Definitely metal, but
Yeah.
it's a little kind of like a mixed bag.
I like that a lot, because a lot of metal music is pretty square. It's like on the beat.
Yeah.
And when you listen to older music, if you go back to the first couple of CZ Top records, you hear a lot of shuffle music, which is pretty round sounding. It
Mhm.
almost goes back to maybe even Frank Sinatra, having the
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know shuffle thing.
yeah.
And we like to mix that up, because it makes you do want to do this instead of banging your
That's
head, and we
that's why
mix that
Diggeth,
up.
I
And
think, has that unique sound that I was talking about. It doesn't sound like every other metal band because you're doing a little bit of everything, and
yeah, if you listen to the older Lynyrd Skynyrd records, you hear a lot of shuffle beats, and make that roundness, and I like to combine that with the heavy sound.
yeah. I mean, most people look at you and probably would be surprised that you listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd, but I like that because that proves don't judge a book by its so-called cover. And what you're talking about, like you look at a band like Metallica, and a lot of people will tell you, okay, the first three Metallica albums, that's the best stuff they ever did. Kill them all the way. But you know what? And then people say, then you get to the Black Album, man, they cut their hair, they sold out. But you know what? To me, if it's a good song, it's a good song. Most bands, you want to kind of progress. And you know, the biggest crime a lot of people will say Metallica is guilty of is they sold out. They had a number one album. That's kind of the goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's all too easy, to blame him for all that kind of stuff. I mean, I agree. Those first three albums, they hit me like a hammer. I was like, I don't know, 13, 14 years old when that came out, and that was amazing because they were the first kind of band, play in that direction. And soon afterwards, they came this, all these bands, starting to play fast and stuff like that. But they were always a little bit ahead of their time. And it's so easy, to blame them, for selling out or changing their
Sounds
appearance
like,
and stuff
yeah.
like that, and sounds. But I mean, hey, I mean, they've been around for 40 years, just huge respect for what
I
they
mean,
did.
they're always on top of their game. I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to hear the new album. It's pretty good, I think. But
Yeah,
what I really loved about it is the night before the album was even released, they had this what's called a global premiere in movie theaters, and they kind of premiered the album for the diehard fans, and it was amazing. I went on a Thursday night. It was pretty packed, for a Thursday night,
yeah,
and so the fans really came out for that. And I wish more bands would look at doing stuff like that because to me, it's a great way to premiere your album
yeah.
for your fans.
And I mean, I think they, whatever they do or want to do, they deserve the respect, for the stuff that they did, let's say between, let's say in the 80s, what they did for heavy metal in general, just huge respect,
And I love the fact that they're
regardless
still
if you
putting
if
out.
you like it after the Black
Yeah,
Album or not.
I love the fact they're still putting out new music. They're one of those bands that could just live on their catalog of music and say, we're not going to put out any new albums, but they're not.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, Harold, I got to ask you, as far as your own musical career, what came first, playing the guitar, or were you always a singer as well?
No. I started with the guitar actually. I don't know. I was probably something like 12 or 13, and my older brother came bringing in all this kind of new music, and I listened together with him to the first Iron Maiden album,
Wow.
and I heard Phantom of the Opera with the double guitars going on, and I was like, that hit me like I was going like, wow, I have to get a guitar. But we were not from a rich family, we were just, like my dad worked as a truck driver, and I had to get a job and buy my first guitar and my first amp and started practicing, learning, trying to learn the Iron Maiden songs. And when I was 15, 16, I played in all kinds of cover bands, but I liked singing. I liked melody. I really was always into melody. I liked the double guitars that you heard with Iron Maiden and Thin
Yeah.
Lizzy, and I guess my sense of melody came from that. And after a couple of years doing all kinds of bands, I got fed up with, every time changing lineups, getting different singers,
Yeah.
drummers, and stuff like that. And I said, like, wait, let's try a three-piece band. And I always sang, like backing vocals, like harmony vocals and stuff like that. And I decided, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's see if I can combine the heavy riffing and the singing, and which was difficult at the beginning, but nowadays I really like it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like both. I can't say what I like more. The singing or the guitar. You can sing wherever you want. When I'm driving in my car to my job, I can
Sure.
sing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
an
mean,
instrument for free.
it's an interesting story. A lot of guys have, a lot of people will tell you, initially I just started out as a guitar player, but, I was told I had the best, ever been in the band, I had the best voice or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah. And did that take you a while to get comfortable with like doing live shows and, hey, I'm the front man, I'm the guy doing the
Oh,
singing?
definitely. Definitely. That was never on my radar. I just wanted to play guitar, and I dreamed of being in bands, but I never saw myself as being a frontman or anything like that. But I got used to it, and after a while I really felt
Embraced it.
comfortable about it. And it's also a nice thing, to explain to an audience, where your song is about, but have some humor, have some wit to it. It's also, when I play a show, I realize it's also an evening out for a lot of people.
Sure, sure.
We have to, there's entertainment, and we don't get too heavy on the subjects, but it's also, having a good time, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy that.
And that's good because a lot of people take themselves way too serious. And you're right. It's for a lot of people, they haven't been out in a long time. They go see maybe a Diggeth show and it's rocking their world or whatever. And you're really giving them the time of their life.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather go to a show and be entertained than, somebody telling
You
me
know,
everything
in
that's
my
wrong with the world, Yeah.
definitely, definitely. I mean, in my opinion, there's so much going on right now in the world, and the world got pretty small, with having the
COVID and
internet
everything. Yeah.
and reading, all kinds of opinions, you're against it or you're with it or whatever. And I think important thing is, when we come to a live show, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what your political views are or, your views in life. You get together, having a good time, listening to the music that you like, and get at least something where you find each other, and
I
where
agree.
all the difference
Everything is so
don't matter
polarizing
that much.
now. Everything's so polarizing now. But the thing I've always loved about music is, typically it's a great thing to bring people together.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I mean, it's the stable world really is sad in the sense that people can't dare be friends with somebody that's got a different idea than them, and I just say to that, how boring the world really would be if everybody thought the same.
Exactly. That's what it is, and you have to get a little bit more respect for each other, that would be cool. But times are pretty difficult
I mean, yeah.
right now. They're
I mean,
pretty polarized, as it seems.
like you, I typically am a guy that listens to hard rock or metal, but I'll tell you what, I also have appreciation for music like Tom Petty, the Eagles, even Elvis Presley, stuff like that, because it's Tom Petty, great pop music. They've all got great hooks in their songs.
Exactly.
To me, a great song is just a great song. Like
Exactly.
this idea that
That's
you can't listen to anything but metal, I never got
no,
that.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I mean, I always say you don't eat French fries every day, do you?
No,
Like
no.
it's like this, music is so broad, that's the cool thing about it. I mean, I grew up, like I said, with my older brother, listening to Steve Miller Band, Electric Light Orchestra, Supertramp, the Eagles, all that kind of stuff. And later on, the more heavy music came in, and of course, the stuff that you listen to when you're 13, 14,
Yeah,
15, that sticks forever, that's your eternal jukebox inside,
yeah.
and that's great. But there's so much great music going on. It's crazy, and
And
still,
see, yeah,
still great bands are putting out music,
even like growing up listening to something like the Steve Miller Band, a guy that grew up in Europe. I mean, maybe it helped you too learn a little bit, English. Maybe it helped you also
Definitely.
become a better songwriter, because Steve Miller is a great songwriter. Let me tell you.
Oh, he's amazing, and especially with the English, I mean, we all get English in school when we're about 12 or 13, but back then I had albums and I read the lyrics and I couldn't speak English, so I tried to make something out of it what they were singing. But I'm pretty sure at that young age, you pick up stuff, and phrases and stuff that get stuck in here.
I mean, it's
I'm
amazing.
with you, yeah.
I've had musicians tell me they go to other parts of the world where English is not the native tongue, and amazingly, people are singing along or they're just getting off on the music.
Yeah,
And again,
yeah,
that proves really is the universal language. I'd like to ask,
definitely.
what part of Europe are you from?
I'm living in the east part of the Netherlands, very close to the German border. I grew up in a little town exactly on the border with Germany. So I grew up speaking Dutch and German as well. With my parents, we went shopping in Germany. My dad worked as a truck driver in Germany, so we picked up German language pretty quick. Because back then, we had like on the television network, we had maybe two Dutch broadcasts and maybe three German broadcasts, and that was it.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of the world, because the Netherlands, probably the most famous people from there, the Van Halen brothers, and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah,
you got like Scorpions from Germany,
in
which is
Germany. Yep.
amazing, because Claus Meine, for years he spoke with that, you could hardly understand what he was saying, but
Yeah, 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 with thick accent.
the original drummer Herman Rarebarrel, I understand he wrote a
Yep.
lot of the lyrics because none of the other guys spoke English.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But those were different times, like the guys from Scorpions, they grew up in a time where, like education got a lot better, I guess, in the 70s and the 80s, and all of us kids, we took French, German, English in
I
school,
can tell I'm just talking, because you sound like you've been speaking English for many years. You sound like actually it was your first language. So the education is coming in loud and clear.
Yeah, well, there's still this little milliseconds, where I have to translate stuff, or go like, what's the right phrase? But
Yeah,
yeah, once you're in it, it's okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I got a lot of people I know from England and USA, that I talk to a lot. And so yeah,
and so
I learn every day.
you mentioned listening to a ton of different types of music growing up. So like even listening to someone like Steve Miller, you must have a kid from Europe had that dream of as a musician, growing up and being in a band and maybe that everybody has that big dream, I'd imagine, in Europe of going over to America for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, buying those live albums. I remember buying, Iron Maiden, Live After Death, and where Bruce Dickinson goes like, Long Beach Arena, and then you try to picture in your head what the Long Beach Arena was like.
Wow. Where I'm talking to you from today, Long Beach Arena is like just a couple miles from here. Yeah.
That's crazy. Eh? That's the great thing about modern times. We're talking. We have a 9 hour difference. It's like a 7:15.
Wow.
PM over here. We had a
It's
very
10,
sunny
10,
day.
10, 13 in the morning here. That's amazing. And I
It's
love that
amazing.
we
Yeah,
can even do this.
exactly, exactly.
For years, I just did old school kind of interviews over the phone, and I got a friend to thank for. He really encouraged me to embrace this new technology. I was kind of not too tech savvy, educated myself. We're doing it. It's been a
Yeah,
truckload of fun. This would be an opportunity I'd be missing out on otherwise.
exactly. It's really cool. You meet a lot of people, with different backgrounds, and you see you got a lot of things in common. That's the cool thing about the whole music thing.
Yeah, yeah. And let me ask you about some of these songs. I listened to Zero Hour and Doomstown. To me, again, old school metal. I love the vocals, great guitar riffs. The whole band is on fire. Like I said, fresh original sound. Talk a little bit about. I just love the title. 0 Hour and Doomstown. I mean, that sounds so metal.
Yeah, that actually came from a video on YouTube I saw, which dates back, I guess, late 40s, maybe early 50s, where they did the atomic tests, the atomic bomb tests in the Nevada desert, I think it was. And it was already after the Second World War where they were testing, and it's a British broadcast with this great British voice,
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
about the
yeah.
testing of the atomic bomb. They have this great, tone in their voice. And that movie is called 0 Hour in Doomtown.
I
And
have to look at it.
yeah, they have this documentary about the actually Doomtowns, the towns that they built to test
Yeah,
the
yeah.
atomic bomb. And I watched it and for quite a while, and I thought, wow, that's a great metaphor for life. Like we're all basically living in Doomtown. We're all, doomed. We're all going to
I mean,
our
you listen
to
to
a
the evening
certain
news,
end.
even they tell you the world's going to come to an end in 12 years, climate change.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we all gonna end someday. And so you never know when it's your 0 hour. That's where the song is about. And there are a couple of lines in the lyrics, which I think it's the first verse. It's basically I had in mind, having the Titanic going down and the orchestra playing, and basically that's your life. You never know when the ship goes down.
I mean, you
And
could you could go out your front door and get in a car accident, get killed, and never come back. You
yeah,
just
that's it. And the question is, how do you live your life? Do you
live
are
in
you
fear.
afraid of
Yeah.
what's coming, or are you living wide open and see, okay, I'm gonna see what happens?
I mean, I can tell you how I live. I choose not to live in fear. I live day to day. Like I'd say this. It may sound crazy, but if I find out, this is the day I die, I've had a pretty good life. I mean, of course, I don't want
Exactly.
to die. I'd want to live as long as possible, but that's my outlook. I'm not going to worry about the big earthquake that may or may not come.
Exactly. And that's my outlook as well. I appreciate what I'm doing. I'm grateful for what I have and what I had, and you don't know what tomorrow brings, and we'll see.
And then, I kind of echo that. Of course, we all have our good days and bad days, but the thing is, I try to tell myself, I really don't have it that bad. And I kind of tell myself also, somewhere in the world, there's someone who has it a lot worse off than you do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what is going on with Diggeth right now? I understand the new album. Is it out yet, or it's getting ready to be released?
The album is actually out for a couple of months already in Europe. It's been released in the United States also a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, on
I wasn't
Kumla.
sure because I was reading someone said that it's a double vinyl or something.
Yeah, it's double vinyl in Europe, and it's single vinyl in the United States. That all had to do with the distribution
Sure,
and the
sure,
cost
sure.
of making vinyl. But in the United States, when you buy the single vinyl record, there's a download card in it where you can download the rest of the songs. It's also available on CD and of course on all the streaming platforms, like Spotify and stuff like that. But we're getting good reviews on the album, and we did November last year. We did a tour with the Skull Legion of Doom nowadays, in especially in Germany. That went pretty well, and we just finished a string of concerts in Holland and Belgium, and we're now looking forward to the summer festivals. And we got a lot of shows coming starting in October. We
Okay.
start at 11th and we end at the 16th of December. And how it looks now, well, let's share a secret with you. Like it looks now, we're probably going to do the United States early October.
Wow, wow. Now,
Yeah.
have you guys been to the United States, or will this be your first trip
No,
here?
no, we had planned to tour in 2020, and then the whole pandemic thing came, and everything fell flat, and everything was pretty uncertain afterwards. It was so difficult to get things done. But how it looks now, yeah, I'm let's say 80% sure that we're going to show up.
That'll be amazing. At least by the time you come over here, you'll have a couple albums worth of stuff to
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait, because that's something, that I dreamt of, when I was young, like, okay,
That's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. The
maybe
American.
someday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I love to have you back one day to talk about after you guys have done
sure,
kicked
sure.
off the tour and stuff. And
Yeah.
I love the beer too. How long did that take? You're talking about ZZ Top.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I had a beard for forever.
Yeah,
It turned gray already.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the people with beards. So I try to do
I
my
mean,
contribution.
talking about ZZ Top, I remember years ago guys talking about there's this shaving company in America that
Yeah,
Revlon something they offered them like $1 million
offer them
to
$1 million, I guess.
shave on
Huh?
their beard or something like that. And I guess the final thing I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned what a huge Iron Maiden fan you are, and who isn't? But if you go back to those first two albums that you listened to, different singer Paul Diano, they were much closer to a punk band than even a metal band, and the two lineups are so different. And it's one of the few times in the history of metal or rock even where a replacement singer is more popular than the original singer.
Yep,
Uh,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, I have really great memories of the second Iron Maiden album, Killers. That really was, that means a lot to me. But I also appreciate Bruce Dickinson a lot. Like
Oh,
Number
sure.
of the Beast was a great record. And especially exactly how you put it. Changing singers at that stage where they were and how that panned out, and that's really amazing. But those
It
first
worked
two
out.
Iron Maiden albums were
And
really great.
I see a lot of people, like my age, because of my age, maybe Number of the Beast is probably my all-time favorite. That's when I got into the band. But I've heard the first two albums like a lot of people, and I don't think you can deny how great those albums were too. I mean, and you got to give it credit because that's where the band started from.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I like both. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, me too.
I don't want to choose. They're way different. Paul Diano
Sure,
has a
sure.
totally different vocals. When I hear some of the older songs, sang by Bruce Dickinson, they don't always sound the
The
way
same.
they should be. You're like, okay, and they're totally different singers. And I like them both.
And,
And
and
I
you know,
totally,
and I don't know if you're aware of this, but Paul Diano recently had like major heart surgery. From what I understand, the people in Iron Maiden they helped him with his medical costs. So that's great on them.
yeah, exactly. I mean, from a commercial point of view, they made the right choice, you know, like, because, you know, you saw what happened to Iron Maiden, you know, when Bruce Dickinson left for quite a while and came back, you know,
Just
they
didn't work.
belong,
Yeah.
they belong together, you know,
I
that's
mean,
how it
even Judas Priest, when Halford left for a while, kind of went through the same thing. But I
same
think
thing.
Iron Maiden, I mean, they had a little bit of success with Tim Owens, but Iron Maiden had a lot of harder time, I think, trying to replace Dickinson.
Yeah, it's not doable. I mean, I saw Iron Maiden, I think it was last year or two, you know, last year I think it was, and it's amazing. You know, you see these people, you know, at the age that they are and the show that they put on, it's amazing.
Harold, I also want to ask you, how did you come up with your stage name, like Harold Big H? I mean,
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing because it has nothing to do with my size actually.
I
But
thought maybe just the name, just Harold.
yeah, the thing is, you know, of course, I'm Harold, you know, and that's written with a capital H, but that's not a common saying over here. You know, they say like when you, I would translate it straight from Dutch, you would say big H, you know, you write it with a big H, and that for some kind of reason stuck, you know.
I
So
was I was interested too. I was thinking maybe because you guys are a three-piece band, but I was reading the band's bio that your publicist sent me, and it's interesting. All the guys got a like cool nickname.
yeah, yeah, that happens, you know, like our drummer, you know, we always call him the chief because he looks a little bit like an Indian, you know, with his, you
Yeah,
know, dark long hair, and he's a tall guy, you know.
yeah,
So always when he comes in, you know, I have the idea from okay, I'm in the movie Dancing with Wolves,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And then
So
and did you always want to be in a three-piece band, or was it like you're saying, less people in the band, a little less egos, and
well, that wasn't the reason. I mean, I like four-piece bands as well. You know, with two guitars, you know, you can do the double guitar stuff and as well. But a three-piece band, you know, I think that goes back to, you know, like stuff like Jimi Hendrix or
Grand
CC
Funk
Top. You know,
Railroad? Yeah, yeah,
they they're a breed apart. You know, when you have three individual instruments and they all do their own thing. You know, so if somebody fails, the whole concept falls apart. You know,
I mean,
so
mentioned
that's
you mentioned Jimi Hendrix, and there was Cream, Grand Funk
Cream.
Railroad.
Yeah,
Um,
sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mountain, legendary American man.
yeah. But even look at a band like Pantera.
Oh, sure.
Basically, they're a three-piece band. You know, they had a singer, but you know, they were guitar, drums, bass. You know,
Yeah, that's what they said about the Who too. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
one of my
Well,
favorites as well. Great band, great band.
Harold, I love talking to you today. The interview we just did is going to be going up sometime next week. I'll let you know when it does, and
Okay.
feel free to share it. You are definitely
Yeah, we
welcome
will.
back.
We will definitely let us know, and we share it on our socials, of course.
You're
Yeah.
welcome back here anytime, my friend. I think we just
Cool.
scratched the surface here, and when I've had a chance to hear the rest of the album in its entirety, I'd love to have you back. And I'd like to thank our
Cool.
mutual friend, the Lord of PR, for setting this up. So thanks to
Yep.
him, and take care, my friend. We'll be in
Thanks,
touch.
man.
Bye bye.
All right, on. Bye bye.